Hi, my name is Mary, and I'm a project administrator intern here with the NHS on the 10,000 Black Interns program.
I'm Sarah James, and I'm currently the hospital director at Mount Vernon Cancer Centre, which is a tertiary cancer centre in the east of England, linked into Eastern North Hearts Trust.
What attracted you to work with the NHS?
I think I've always wanted initially to be a clinical lead in the NHS from quite a young age. I was interested in either working in pharmacy or dietetics. I think what I've learned over the time that I've been in the NHS is that it's quite a diverse organisation to work for, and particularly, reflecting on my journey, you can start in one role and develop into another. So the NHS really gives you an opportunity to, change careers within the NHS organisation. So I think the diversity of the NHS, and for me in particular, being able to work with patients and have a front-facing role has been the two key reasons why I've joined the NHS.
How do you and your colleagues generate great ideas in your organisation?
The key thing for me is communication. And I think also having the opportunity to have almost unstructured conversations. Often great ideas come from unstructured discussion. So I think the key thing for me is listening and communication, engaging with all levels of the organisation. And importantly, I think more and more, lately, the key message for me is make sure that you co-design with patients, because often patients are the ones who know the most about the organisation, because they've been through the journey of being treated in that context, and often have some fantastic ideas around how services can be developed and changed.
How has the NHS supported you to grow and develop in your career to get to this point?
The role that I'm doing now is a completely different career trajectory to where I started in my NHS journey. So I started out as a dietitian, and the NHS has actually supported me with the opportunity to complete my master's degree in management, and has given me extensive development in executive leadership and coaching. Those kind of three key investments has enabled me to become, I think, a successful senior hospital director in the NHS. So huge contribution to my learning and development, and actually has shaped a different career pathway for me inevitably.
What roles have you had along the way?
So I started out as a dietitian, and then I sort of evolved into sort of really wanting to be involved in the specialist end of dietetics. So branched out into specialising in kidneys, and really sort of being a sort of leader in kidney and nutrition in my field. I then had the opportunity to be involved in Agenda for Change. I was a trade union for a period of time, and that sort of encouraged me to get involved in the implementation of the knowledge and skills framework, the appraisal tool that was nationally rolled out across the NHS as part of the Agenda for Change changes. What that brought to me was an opportunity to be involved in development of a appraisal system across the whole of the hospital, and really gave me an opportunity to learn how to develop competencies for different roles within the NHS. After that, as a result of the opportunity to do my management qualifications in the NHS, I then evolved into really running operations within the organisation, a particular focus around surgical specialties. In the latter 3 years of my career, I've predominantly been involved in tertiary care, and that's really given me an opportunity to work with some of the really high-end experts in the NHS, and have thoroughly enjoyed working both at Great Ormond Street and being involved in the neurosurgical services there and developing neurosurgery for Great Ormond Street, and then moving on then to where I am now currently at Mount Vernon, and looking at developing cancer pathways across a 2 million population. And importantly for me, along my whole journey, being involved in the development of staff and seeing staff grow and develop within the NHS.
Tell me about a mentor who helped you during your career. How did they support your progression?
So I've had the opportunity to sort of really be involved in some formal coaching and mentoring as part of my exec director pathway program, and I think when you get to a certain level, that is really fundamental, I think, for senior managers, because I think we're all extremely busy and often you don't have the opportunity to take a step back and reflect on your own performance and what's working well and where your challenges are. So I think I definitely encourage where people have the opportunity to enlist in, the opportunity of an executive coach. I think for me, what they helped me realize was that actually, don't rush to get, to the top of the tree. Take your time. Development isn't just about doing courses. It's about the experiential opportunity you get whilst you're in an organisation.
How do you continue to grow and develop as a leader?
I grab every opportunity that I can where I can. I often find that the HSJ kind of summary bulletins are often very helpful in terms of understanding what's happening within the wider context of the NHS. I said to myself that I would promise myself I would spend an hour every night reading a book, and I'd try and get through a book a month, and I'm still on the first book. So I think it just goes to show that actually, it can be challenging, and it would be wrong for me to sit here and say I spend hours, on my own personal development, because in all honesty, as a woman in a senior leadership role, it is challenging to do that. But I also think that, really putting yourself out there and optimizing the knowledge that's around you naturally on a daily basis is really important.
What talents do you use in your role?
You have to be a really good communicator. It's also quite a bureaucratic animal, the NHS, so the ability to influence and negotiate with all types of individuals is really important. Communication is key on a daily basis. People need to be able to trust you and know that you're fair and that you are considered in the decisions that you make, and give everybody an opportunity to have a voice. The key thing for anybody working in the NHS is that, one, you like people, because that's the key to the success of the NHS. Two, that you've got a caring and compassionate nature about yourself, and you really do care about people, more about people than process sometimes, because the process and the value and the output comes from looking after your people. If you are fair and supportive of your individuals and the people you work with, they will go 110% for you, and you will get good productivity and output as a result of that.
What do you find the most rewarding and meaningful in your current role?
When I first started in my operational management journey, everyone said to me, "Oh no, surely you're not going to be leaving patient care to be a manager." It was very much like I'd gone over to the dark side. Well, actually, I think what I've learned through my journey is that actually I can really, really make a difference to patient care and experience through being an operational manager. And what I really, really enjoy is the opportunity to be involved in some big service configurations across organisational boundaries. So for me, the real thing that I really love is the opportunity to make a difference for patient care and really see improvements from redesign of large services and reconfiguration of services for the benefit of patients, but also the staff that work within them, because that then also promotes retention of what we've got is extremely specialist, expert individuals in the organisation that we just don't want to lose. I think for me as well, one of my passions is developing the NHS workforce for the future. I think we're a huge organisation, and people don't always necessarily receive the financial benefits that they deserve for the work that they do. But very much I see a lot of dedicated individuals who come to work because they enjoy their job. And my role, I think, is to help develop and grow those individuals for the future, so that I can help grow and develop senior leaders of the NHS for the future. So that is my real ambition, and that's what I really enjoy doing.
Who has inspired you along your journey, and how?
I think I've certainly had a number of patients along my journey that I have really that have really inspired me, and particularly working at Great Ormond Street with some of the children who, have significant physical and mental challenges, but actually have a real can-do positive attitude to life. And, it's amazing how much of a normal life they can have just through, the positivity of their mental attitude, and just being able to work around their physical and mental challenges always inspires me. There are some amazing individuals out there who have extremely challenging physical and mental issues, but actually overcome them and have a very, very healthy lifestyle, and work through, as successful individuals when they reach adulthood. I think for me as well, in terms of leadership, I think there are some really exceptional leaders at the top of the NHS. In particular, I'm quite impressed with the current new regional director for East of England. I mean, she's exceptional. She's held some really, really senior roles, and is also a mum of 3 children, but also has a very nice way about her. She seems very approachable. She is very, very visible in the NHS, and is really making a massive difference, but is also approachable. And I think for me, that's how I would like to evolve as a senior manager in the NHS. People being able to know who I am, being able to approach me without feeling intimidated, but making a big difference at the same time. So, for me, it's that ability to, keep grounded, but also progress at the NHS at the same time.
What advice can you share with people aspiring to be a senior leader with the NHS or wider system?
Believe in yourself, because often, particularly now with the kind of evolution of imposter syndrome, it's very well known that your biggest challenge and your biggest obstacle to development is yourself and your belief in yourself. So remember that if others believe in you, then it's highly likely that you are the right individual for that role, and take a risk and go for it. Don't always assume that your career pathway is going to be a linear one. There's many twists and turns along the way, many disappointments, many highlights, but don't give up. Keep going, stay committed, and stay resilient, because you can be extremely successful, but also go with the flow. Because if I thought about how my career pathway was going to be versus how it is now, I absolutely wouldn't have anticipated that I would be a hospital director running a tertiary cancer centre at this stage. So I think it's important to be, to keep an open mind and grab the opportunities when they arise.
If you could advise 2 things to yourself at the start of your career, what would you say?
Have belief in yourself, and take a risk. I think often people always worry about what they can't do rather than what they can do. And I would say to myself, very much as I've just said, be open-minded. Be open-minded about your journey, and take every opportunity that comes your way.
What is the most important risk you've taken?
I think the biggest risk for me was, as I've described, I think it was moving out of that clinical role. It did feel very much like I was letting go of, a career that I'd spent 4 or 5 years developing. I had to then 2 years later, give up my state registration as a dietitian, and that again was a big hurdle for me, because I was balancing the risk of moving into a kind of fairly busy operational role and letting go of my sort of professional expertise. But actually it's paid dividends, and as I've said, I feel like I've been able to still influence patient experience and patient journeys, but it's very scary at the time, and you almost feel as though you sort of you sort of let yourself down a bit by changing your career. But actually, I think, be confident, and be positive, and move into the next journey with positivity.
How do you maintain your health and well-being at work?
So what we've got at Mount Vernon, and she's amazing, is a ranger. And she's done some amazing work in the organisation around trying to bring outdoor space to life and support health and well-being. So we've recently put in place a sort of wildflower walkway, which is a walkway outside in the gardens of the hospital, and basically we encourage all of our staff, including myself, to go out there just for 10-15 minutes every day and just walk the walkway, as many laps as you can, but just have the opportunity to get some sort of outdoor space, you know, sort of get the oxygen back into the system, and really try and sort of have that kind of meditation piece for 10 minutes, you know, before you obviously go back to your workplace. Because that reflection time is really important, because during that reflection time you have an opportunity to frame and understand and think about how you might have done things differently during the day. So I'm a real advocate for making sure that you do have that differentiation between the workplace and home, and take that opportunity to switch off and not feel guilty about it, and have that important reflection time that we all seek.
What advice can you share with others to maintain their health and well-being?
Very much now, my approach is to manage people by the delivery of the work and not by the time they spend doing it. So I think it's about making sure that you know, there's a more flexible working approach, but don't be a slave to the computer, and don't feel that just because you work 24 hours a day that the output is good. So measure your delivery on output and delivery of your objectives, and less on the amount of time you take doing it, I think is the message I would give to people. And don't feel guilty about taking time for yourself, because you're a more rounded person if you've had that time and space to recuperate both mentally and physically.
What challenges and barriers have you faced along your journey, and how have you overcome these?
As a woman in the NHS, you know, the inevitable challenge and barrier for me has been trying to balance you know, a family with an extremely busy senior leadership role, and as I said, it can be done.
What is your advice to colleagues on how they can progress to senior roles?
Take a risk and believe in yourself. Same message as before, because I think those are the two things that often stop people from developing and progressing. It's often their own self-belief. I think the other thing is get yourself a really good sponsor, because often, you know, as you become more senior, you know, the roles are so busy that often you don't get much time to be able to, you know, sort of horizon scan what opportunities are coming out there. And as you become more senior as well, often those opportunities aren't naturally available in the usual kind of NHS job space. It's often word of mouth, and often, you know, senior leaders talking to each other about opportunities and developments within their organisation. So try and get yourself a sponsor who sits outside your organisation at a more senior level than you, who can help kind of navigate and direct you to the job opportunities that are available out there. You know, I've loved being a senior leader in the NHS. They're extremely challenging roles, but, you know, I am still a very strong advocate of the NHS, and, you know, constantly tell my little boy that actually it would be a good environment for him to go into for the future, because, you know, there is such a variety of job opportunities in the NHS. There aren't many organisations that you can go in with the breadth of expertise and experience that the NHS has. You know, from education through to finance down to operations, it's huge. So, you know, I say, you know, go for it. It's a great organisation to work for, very stable over the COVID period. You know, I felt very privileged that, you know, I still had my role and I was still able to get up and go to work every day. So, you know, it's a great place to work, and I'd encourage anybody to come and work in the NHS as a senior leader.
Thank you so much. That was a really, really insightful interview. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.